Hi, folks. This is Kyle for part two of discussions in Canvas. I have some options, and I want to actually spend some time here and take you through what these options are and how they work. I would strongly recommend that you always allow threaded replies. So what that does is that puts any response to an original or an initial prompt and indents it so that it's easier for the reader to see, here's the original post, and then these indented things are reply, 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 reply. And if I have a reply to a reply, heaven forbid, that would actually be indented further. So visually, I think that this is a really good idea. The next one is users must post before seeing replies. I think that there's certainly a time and place for this, and then there's not a time and place for this. So what this is when a student clicks on the discussion, and you have this enabled, they're not going to be able to see anybody else's posts, and this kind of prevents parroting. And like especially early on, this is probably a good idea to click. But what I would say to students is that this is engaged. So in your in your instructions up here, you might want to let them know that you're doing this. And as soon as they post, then they can come back to this, and then they can see any other posts that have been there. Another reason that we do this, I think that this would be a useful feature. Let's say that I'm in an engineering class and I present students up here with a problem in engineering. And my instructions to them are like, ballpark, give me 2-paragraph spitball solution to this particular problem. And then what I want you to do, once you have done your initial post, click submit, and then go back and look at other posts and then reflect on other students' answers once you've seen them, and comment specifically on their answers, their strengths, and perhaps their weaknesses. So I could see that as a useful strategy. If like in our discussions, since many of you are new to Canvas, we haven't set this. But it's really entirely up to you. If you want to prevent parroting, though, we're going to click that. Enable podcast feed. I think you can probably ignore that. I've only seen that work a few times, and that's when you have really tech-savvy students that might have their own digital media where they're wanting to like engage something called an RSS feed into this discussion as a response. If you're more interested in that, get a hold of us and we can get into the detail like that. Graded or not, in general, I would say grade your responses and dignify, or your discussions, and dignify them with some points. This also means that it shows up on the student's to-do list. Now, if you do grade it, you might want to include a rubric, which we can attach as a file attached here, or you can write, if you have if it's a simple short rubric, you can actually put it up here in the rich content editor. But I would always include that. There may be cases like in our class sometimes, like, we're all professionals, and we don't necessarily have to have points attached to discussions to motivate people to participate. It just depends. But I think in general, it's probably a good idea to grade them. Now, if you don't want to grade it, but still want to add it to the student to-do list, that's what this bottom button is, which is cool. This is a relatively new feature into Canvas. And, it was people like me, for example, sometimes like if I have more experienced class, I don't necessarily want to grade these discussions. Or maybe I just want the free flow of ideas and not have points attached to them. This is still this is a great way to kind of have that sort of discussion, but then still put it up in the student to-do list, which is cool. And allow liking, I'm kind of torn on this one. This is a social media-ish type feature, Facebook-y Twitter, type thing. We can allow, thumbs up and thumbs down are the only two likes. I don't even think we have a thumbs down. I think it's just a like, a thumbs up. But if if you want to engage this feature, you can. Again, I'm kind of torn with this. I've toyed around with it a couple times. I think for our purposes, we're kind of going to leave it off here. So I'm going to unclick this feature. Actually, I'm just going to click the graded feature, and you'll see it disappear. Unless you've created groups, do not click this button. What this would do is that this would, if you already had like your class divided up into smaller groups, let's say I have a class of 25 and I have 5 groups of 5, I would click this to confine the discussion only to one of my groups. So unless you've done that, unless that's what you want, leave this blank. If you're grading it, make sure you put some points in. And if you want to group this, if you've created assignment categories, make sure that it is assigned appropriately. Like for me in this course, point is a point is a point is a point, so I haven't created group weightings, but if you did, you'd want to make sure, for example, if you created a weight for discussions, maybe they're worth 15 points out of 100 total in the course, you would want to make sure that this discussion here is organized and grouped appropriately. I can't imagine a situation, to be honest, where we would want peer reviews for a discussion. That seems kind of redundant to me because like they're going to be doing it. That's the purpose of a discussion. Nonetheless, it's there. Maybe I'm just being obtuse here. I just can't really see me personally a reason for that. And then this would allow us then to assign, the default is to everybody, give it a due date, and then also give it an availability range. Here's something that I like to do. I like to give my discussions a due date, but sometimes I'll keep them open for a week or two, a little bit longer. And this would be to maybe to accommodate that type of student that would have a great idea, but and a response to something, but it be past the due date. So entirely up to you. There's no real best practice here, but I just think that for me personally, that kind of works. Me as a philosophy, I don't believe that learning necessarily happens on a schedule. So this may be an opportunity for students to be able to still kind of chime in and share a good insight, despite the fact that they do so past the quote unquote due date. Save and publish. Okay, so there it is. There's my discussion. And now once I've created it and it's published, it's still not organized in a module. So what I would want to do here is I want to hop over into modules. And here's a sample first module. And let's say that I want to put this discussion in here in my discover and practice portion of this module. So I'm going to click the plus button. I'm going to drop down discussions because I have to go grab this now discussion. And I think it's this one, sample discussion, that I created. So this list here, once I said like find the discussions, this list here are all the discussions that I've created in that menu or that folder in Canvas that's labeled discussions that students can't see. This is going to bring, if you will, bring that discussion that I've just created over and place it into a module. So I'm cool with that, and I'm going to add the item. And remember, Canvas puts everything at the bottom, so it's going to be put at the bottom of this module, and then I'm going to just move it up and drop it, plop it down. Just say I want it right here before my assignments. And there it is now. It's in my first module. And if we click it, there it is. So that's a little bit about how to structure discussions and how some of these settings work. I hope you found this helpful. This video is sort of, you've learned a little bit more about discussions, about how they can be organized, and maybe it's spurred some creativity and some ideas, which would be my hope for you. So this week you've got to put a discussion in your module. That's one of our assignments this week. Good luck.